I've been getting you the worst of me. Now you wanna stay the night. Pretty how you work hard for me, but forgetting how to talk. Nah, I don't like no humble beats. Just go and spice it up.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. Fun fact, this is the second time I'm recording this video. So yesterday I recorded this entire video and I got impatient, tried to change the battery on my camera too quickly, and it erased the whole file. So we're back to record the whole thing and react to this again. But maybe I will catch something that I missed the first time around, so that's the plus side to it. So we're reacting to some more Scentsy. And if you're new here or you're unaware, I was within Scentsy for about 3 to 4 years. So they're always my favorite MLM to react to. And that's probably just because I have a lot of insider information that I can apply to these bullshit trainings, in my opinion. So this individual, well, it's actually two people. It's a husband and wife, and they are together one consulting unit of Scentsy, and they are a top leader. It's almost unbearable to watch the wife interrupt the husband as often as she does, as you'll see through this entire training. If you're unaware of what Scentsy actually is, it's a multi-level marketing, MLM, network marketing company, whatever you want to call it, which means they primarily focus on recruiting people to join their team. Much like Mary Kay, LuLaRoe, Body, formerly known as Beachbody, and all of those types of businesses, quote unquote. Now, I do have a deep dive as well as a fully stocked Scentsy playlist that I will be sure to link below, so you can go and check that out after you watch this if you'd like. But to give you the rundown, Scentsy's products that they have are scented products. They focus on all things scented. So we're talking wickless candles, the warmers with the light bulbs that melt the wax, air fresheners, room sprays, oil diffusers, all of those things. That is what Scentsy is. The training we're going to watch is has not a singular thing to do with sales, and everything to do with leading your team to rank up. So obviously you can get paid more, allegedly, and recruiting more people. Sponsoring is what Scentsy calls it instead of recruiting, to make it sound a little softer, I guess, in my opinion. One other thing, if you're new here, I do not blur the faces in my videos, and that is just a personal choice that I make, but this does not mean that I am encouraging anybody to seek these individuals out and send them hateful messages or inciting any type of hate toward these individuals. So please do not do that. And with that, let's get the into it.
All right, you guys. So we are doing our first kickoff leadership Zoom of the fall semester.
Fall semester.
It is fall semester. We in school. School is in session. We are kicking off with a training that I had Justin come up with. So I'm Chloe and this is Justin, and we're either, if you're rewatching this, we could be you're up on Superstar Director, or you need some help in your leadership. And so
if you're unfamiliar with Scentsy lingo, she said that she is a superstar director, which means she is at the very top, the pointed part of the pyramid, in my opinion. She has climbed through all of the ranks of Scentsy, and she has a large team below her. So she has all of the different leadership roles as well as the new consultants below her. And yes, she is profiting off of them.
I'm so excited for y'all to be here. We're going to kick it off. First was saying, if you are a new lead consultant in our community, welcome. We are so glad that you guys are here.
All right. So lead consultant is when you have at least one recruit under you. So you have recruited one person to buy a join kit and sign on. They may have sold stuff by now. They may not have sold stuff, but you are a lead consultant. Now, I also think it's important to point out that there are only 2 ranks below lead consultant at which you do not need any type of recruits. Those are called the essential consultants and the certified consultants. And the only difference between those two is that certified consultants have sold $1,000 or more of product, and they get paid 25% commission instead of 20% commission. So that is essentially the only difference between essential consultants and certified consultants. And then every single rank above that requires you to have a team of some sort, yet that's not the focus. They're just sharing Scentsy, which I find to be bullshit, again, in my opinion.
I know some of you, have you know, jobs and newborn babies and all these obligations, school, you know, so we're just really glad that you made this a priority tonight, and we're hopefully going to make it worth your time. Tonight, me and my husband are going to be talking about momentum after we share some, I think, really key elements of how to build it, how to get it going, how to conduct it, and how to sustain it. Then we're going to have a couple people that were just at our retreats share how this past week really revved up their momentum. And I'm really excited for y'all to hear from them. And so we are going to go ahead and get started. Would you like to share?
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and get going with it. And then you just kind of chime in whenever you
want. And if y'all have questions.
Oh, and she chimes in.
While Justin's talking, feel free to ask them in the chat. We'll answer them. We just really wanted to feed some like foundational material that wasn't a recruiting tip or a spot or a like sales tip. Like I think with leadership, there's a big disconnect in like understanding foundations of what makes a strong leader and what strong leaders do and actions they have. And so we also came up with a new acronym I'm excited to share too.
You came up with that this morning.
Yes, I did at breakfast. I don't know how y'all, because I was falling asleep while we were doing the budget. Your girl straight just fell asleep while we were doing the budget today. So that was fun. But
on my shoulder.
On his shoulder. It was game over. But scoot up and
speaking of on people's shoulders, look at that cat on her shoulder. It's a naked kitty. Oh, it's so pretty.
I want a naked cat so bad.
You just told me you would never get another cat again.
I would get a naked cat.
Okay.
100%. I would get a naked cat. I literally want to.
Look at it just sitting on her shoulder.
So sweet.
And look at her loving on her. That's sorry. That's how my ADHD mind works.
I don't like cats, but I like naked cats. Okay. All right. So Justin, go ahead and start.
All right. Yeah. So with tonight, one thing that I think is important as far as, you know, when you think about leadership, and I say this a lot from a direct sales perspective, with your leadership personally for your personal business is how you're working your personal business. I mean, your sales, your customer service, your team, your front line, how you're working with those people. That's a direct reflection of your own leadership in your personal business.
And I want to say this too.
And it just continues. I don't know how he deals with it, but she, through this whole training, as you'll see, continues to cut him off just like this and even worse.
Y'all are much further ahead than you think with leadership. This group, these foundations you guys have, so many people don't have this. So I also want to say that because I feel like a lot of leaders, before he gets into momentum, you feel like you just don't know. And I want to tell you guys something. Y'all know.
No, actually, they don't. The problem within MLMs with these people who are put into leadership roles because of their recruiting or the size of their team, most of them likely did not have any type of training to be in that leadership role. When you think of corporate, the evil corporate, as they like to talk about, of corporate roles where people are put into leadership, they have to go to workshops, they have to go to seminars, they have to be trained, and they get paid for all of these things. I know, what a concept. To do all of these things and learn all of these things and learn how to lead their team whatever department they're in, which this is for a different video, but corporate and the MLM structure may both be shaped as a triangle, but they are not the same. So when you're looking at these people who are in the MLMs that somehow made it to the top of the pyramid, whether they got in early or they recruited their mom, their aunt, their sister, their cousin, their husband, their step cousin twice removed, whoever they recruited, they made it to the top but had no training. They have no idea what the they're supposed to do from there. For that reason alone, most of these individuals actually don't know what they're doing.
Before that, we're just at our leadership retreat. They heard some of the things that these leaders didn't know. And all mine knew is, okay, we just got to coach, Chloe. We got to coach. Show me this, show me that. They knew what to come and get. So y'all are going to know what you need to come and get from me, your upline, or if it isn't us, or if it isn't your sponsor, from somebody, but you guys are more equipped than you know. So I did want to just say that, because we can get really down on ourselves, but it's only because we're a very high producing leadership community, Anchored Senses, and you guys are. And so I just wanted to kind of preface it with that.
Yeah. And so the reason why I chose momentum, and the reason why I think momentum is important, because sometimes I don't even think people really know a true definition of the word, what momentum is. Some people get very physical about it, meaning it's a driving force this way. there's a bunch of different definitions of it. And I even just came up with my own definition. So I pretty much came up with a basic definition of.
Okay, sir. You can't just make new definitions to words as you please. You are not Urban Dictionary. Actually and factually, there are only 2 definitions according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary for momentum, and this is what they are. The first definition reads, a property of a moving body that the body has by virtue of its mass and motion, and that is equal to the product of the body's mass and velocity. So broadly, it means a property of a moving body that determines the length of time required to bring it to rest when under the action of a constant force or moment. The second definition reads, strength or force gained by motion or by a series of events. Used in a sentence, the wagon gained momentum as it rolled down the hill. That is what momentum means. Those are the only things that it means. You can't make up your own definition to momentum, and other people can't either.
What momentum is in reference to Scentsy and how you can create it. More importantly, how you can lose it, because I don't think people talk a lot about create energy or creating stuff, but you don't talk about how you can lose it so you can look for the red flags.
Motivation a lot, but we got to replace that with momentum, which is what we're hoping to teach you guys tonight.
So a definition of momentum is creating habits that propel you towards your goals in an increasing motion. So what I want to first talk about is how you create it. Then I'm going to talk about how you lose momentum, and then more importantly, how you sustain it. Because it happens. Momentum is something that has to be created. It's something that just doesn't happen accidentally. It's something that doesn't happen by luck. There are external factors that can throw gasoline on the fire, hit COVID and everybody ordering online and sales, but that's just stuff that's going to propel momentum and work that you've already done. And how do you sustain that momentum once you get it? So first off, how do you sustain it? Or I'm sorry, how do you create momentum? There's 3 things that I have found in everything that I've done in my past. Every time we've been successful in something, every time we've stayed successful, and every time. And these 3 factors of what created that momentum. The first one is the vision. And you hear this a lot where you say vision statement, and a lot of people think that applies to like a corporate lingo. Like, what's the vision statement? If anybody works in a job or has ever held a job, you've heard of vision statements. This needs to be more personal for you in your Scentsy business. That's what this is. It's your personal business. This isn't anything else. This could be a vision for you personally and what you hope to achieve out of this business, or what you want this business to do for you. And guess what? It's fluid. This vision is fluid. There has to be something concrete for you to get going, but once you hit it, you need to change the vision again. You can have a huge vision of, I want this to be something that's going to be, wealth producing for my family for generations to come, even that is very vague.
Ma'am, why do you have a CEO shirt on? You know damn well you are not the CEO of Scentsy. Heidi and Warville Thompson are the CEO of Scentsy. What you are is a contracted individual who joined Scentsy to sell the product and also recruit more people to do the same thing. That's not a CEO. Nope. Not even a little.
I would start it off something very simple like we did. I just want to be able to make a $300 to $400 car payment. That's my vision, for me to be able to have a new car, because I've never had a new car and I want to be able to make that payment. And I'm going to use Scentsy as a vessel to do that. And this is how I'm going to get there. That's a personal vision. Once you start building a team and once you become a leader, a vision for you that you can have for them is, okay, now I want to be able to help my team member promote to the next title. One of my frontline promote to the next title, because my vision for them is to believe in themselves, which takes me to point 2 that creates momentum. So the first thing that creates momentum is vision. One of the business mistakes I will say on vision 2 that leaders have is a lack of vision for their own Scentsy business. And I'll always ask Chloe this, because after she does coaching calls with you guys, we do kind of a separate follow-up where I'll sit down with her and ask how the call went, what she think went well. And one of the
we all know she's staring at herself on Zoom right now, right?
biggest things that I always ask is, do they even know why they're doing it? And that's something you always need to check yourself on, because sometimes you may have joined because somebody
wipe the boogers, put them in your hair. I'm sorry. I know that I'm providing commentary on the problematic things that these individuals are doing, but I can't help myself. I am a shit talker. Don't forget it.
was pushing you so much to join it.
But
You just joined to make them happy, and you really like the product. But you never even really knew why or what this business could do for you.
And you normally don't see what it can do until you see the launch party was successful.
Exactly.
You see you got certified. You see you hit lead star, superstar. So also know like the vision thing. Like don't be so hard on yourself if you've never set one. But vision, because it gives you direction and it gives you clarity on what task you got to do to have that vision come to life.
So that's the first way you can create momentum is you have to know what you're working towards. That's the easiest way to say. That's the easiest way I describe whenever I'm consulting with companies that are starting up or somebody that's wanting to launch a product or somebody that wants to launch a business or anybody I'm talking to. What are you trying to do and what are your hopes for this? That's basically how you build that vision statement. And I just think that's so important because it has to be what are your goals and what are you working toward? You have to have a vision in order to create momentum. All right, number 2 is faith. This doesn't mean spiritual faith, even though we feel that that's very important. What I'm talking about with faith here is that you have to believe in what you do. You have to, the better way I used to say this, and I've said this in trainings before, when I worked at the bank, we had a bank account at every bank I worked at because I had to believe in the product and I know how.
It was awful.
I had to know how it worked. I had to know how it worked. If I was going to sell somebody a credit card, I had to have that credit card. If I was going to sell somebody a line or a loan or a line of credit or a savings account or something like that, I needed to know how the product worked. If I was going to sell somebody online banking or if I was going to sell somebody a product or something that we had to offer.
Can I pause you really quick?
Yeah.
So we talk about this.
You seem to be doing that a lot, but I want to point out the fact that he is talking about how when he was working in these positions, he was experiencing the product. He had to do that in order to sell these things, which is interesting to me because you'll hear it in Scentsy and in most MLMs across the board where people who are trying to recruit others say you don't even have to have tried the product to join. And his statement alone saying that he had to try all of these products before he could sell it should prove a strong point. And when you're looking at the amount of shit that they have in these catalogs on their websites, that would require Scentsy consultants, first of all, to have tried all of these products and know how they work and what they do and what they smell like and all of these things. But that would also require someone to spend thousands of dollars of their own money to do this. So what is it? You don't have to use the products, or you have to spend thousands of dollars of your own money to try the products so that you can in turn sell the products. I'm so confused with these fucking MLMs.
A lot, right? On a working Zoom or on a team page about like, go get Scentsy Club, like, so you can sell it. Get the harvest scent so you can sample them and do these things. But we don't talk about it enough in you learning how to lead. So you making basic level that can relate to this, for you to be able to believe you can lead. You need to have your own steps on how you train those new team members. Then once they certify, and I talk to a lot of leaders about this, what do you do when they certify? Then you need to know, what do you do with them when they certify? Like, what does that look like? How do you, you can teach them how to get to lead because you got there, but what steps does that look like? How can it be duplicatable? Belief is instilled by you knowing what you're doing and you being able to replicate it really, really well. And once you aren't failing at it or aren't sucking at it, right, then the belief grows in that area. So what I really want to be able to do with y'all this semester in our leadership content is teach you guys what tools you need and how you can make it you, how you can go and create your own system, right? Typed up, written out, how you're going to lead that team member, and then what you do after they're certified so you can have that stuff in your toolbox and so you can feel confident in that area.
For sure. And so that's why I think this faith is broken down into 2 parts. So first thing that creates momentum is the vision, why you're doing this, what you're doing it for, and what even is the purpose of the reason why you're doing this. The second is faith. You have to have faith in the company that you're selling for, faith in the product that you're working for, and faith in yourself that you can actually do this. So there's 2 things. You have to have faith in yourself. I think most importantly that yes, you can do hard things. This is where I would say the motivation, but it's more than motivation comes in. This is something within yourself that you know that you can do this and you believe in yourself.
How many days do we wake up and feel motivated? How many days did you wake up?
Motivation is not something that's sustainable. And that's one thing that we want to talk about from a sustainability standpoint.
How many days as a leader?
It's unbearable. I'm starting to twitch a little. It's so bad. That would piss me off, and he's so good about it. He doesn't even say anything. He just lets her cut him off constantly.
you wake up and you're just feeling pumped. There is times like September 1st drops, but how many days majority do you wake up feeling motivated?
Yeah.
Not a lot.
So that's why.
That's really sad. And that actually says a lot about being within Scentsy. If you two are waking up, looking at your Scentsy business and not feeling motivated, that's a red flag.
The habits is why habits, and we're going to talk
let's
about
go
that in
into
a
that
minute.
now.
So first thing to create momentum is your vision. Second is faith, believing you can do it, believing in the product and believing in the company you're working for. The third thing that creates momentum is systems or habits. And basically people try to overcomplicate system. And basically what a system is how you accomplish your what.
Yeah.
That's what a system is how you're accomplishing your what.
Well, and to me, is what you do every day to get that result. A system is how you do it really well and duplicate it, in my eyes.
Basically, within Scentsy, and I wrote this down, you have to have a system around everything you do. How are you finding new customers? How are you finding new consultants?
So
how are you following
about leadership?
How are you sampling?
Relate it more to leadership.
How from a leadership development? Like, what are you doing from a leadership development? So basically, how do you identify potential leaders? You know, if you only have a team of 2, leadership may look a little bit different for you.
But if you only have a team of 2, how are
what
you
is that?
No, pause. If you only have a team of 2, if you're not doing calls with
No, I cannot. How? Sir, that's all I got. How?
them.
That's what I was asking.
No, if you're not doing Zooms with them, Zoom is free. Okay, if you don't record it or have up to a certain amount of people, if you don't start then, how
You doing FaceTimes at that point?
How I did free conference call.
Yeah.
I didn't care when I had one person. How are you going to believe that you can lead and lead calls and lead your people when you're not doing in-person team meetings?
How are you gonna believe that this is your business when you are telling individuals where they have to be, when, and making it mandatory? Because most of these calls that these Scentsy leaders do are basically they state in a way that it's mandatory to be there. So tell me how you're walking around and telling people that they can start their own business with Scentsy while simultaneously giving them a schedule of calls that they have to be at. How does that work? Please tell me, because that is literally not your own business when you have somebody above you telling you what to do. And I mean, that's aside from the laws. Laws are laws. There's always going to be somebody in the government telling us what to do. But when you're selling a business opportunity and giving them an agenda and a schedule, not your own business. You're just under the thumb of somebody else.
When you're not showing up and trying calls, when you're not starting that at an early period on. So those are the things. That's why, Justin, it's easy for people to think about habits for samples and this and that. But what we've got to start learning is habits on how to build leadership. Habits on how you can take what you did in your first year as a consultant and how do you really master teaching others to do the same. And then if they want to do what you do, teaching them how to get there.
Yeah. So a system around coaching, leadership development. And what I always say around leadership development too is,
what about sales? If this is a legitimate business opportunity that doesn't require recruiting to make a livable income, then why is there no mention of how to get more sales? And it's all about how to lead your team and have them rank up and recruit more people. Tell me that. You will hardly ever see a training get put out by a top leader on how to sell more. That's not a thing. It's always sponsor, 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 how to sponsor more, how to grow your team, leadership this, leadership that. It's hardly about sales. So when they come to you and tell you that all you have to do is sell the product, that's a bold-faced lie, because you'll only be in the bottom 2 ranks, if that's the case, where you make next to nothing.
you have to make sure you're developing yourself. So you need to make sure from a leader's perspective, leadership perspective, you're not getting comfortable in what you're doing. You're always evolving and you're wanting to develop yourself more.
And one thing I want to pause again that I saw a lot last week is that people just don't want to get on the phone with people. Okay. And that is the biggest misconception you can have with leadership, because you need to hear your people on the phone. If they want to grow, you need to be able to hear their goals. You need to be able to steer them to not get off track and talk about why they can't do stuff, but get them back on track.
Steer them back on track? on their business. They just continuously, these Scentsy Huns continuously say the quiet part out loud, yet they're always deeming themselves the safe MLM. That's such bullshit garbage.
To how to make a plan while they can. And so if that's you and you're like, I don't like to get on the phone, I don't like to do this, I don't like to do that. Well, that's a comfort zone that you're going to have to hop on over in order to develop leaders, because we got to get past talking about parties, PRV, and sponsoring. If you are a leader and you don't know how to do that, you've got to go out and learn how to do that. You've got to book parties. You got to have conversations.
But my friend, if you're making them get on a call every week or however often it is, and you're not training them on that, what kind of leader are you at the top of the pyramid if you're wanting them to do the same thing? Contradictions everywhere. They're just flying around like mosquitoes on a hot, muggy day.
You got to do all the things that you guys have in front of you on YouTube to learn about, to get better at, so you can do these things.
And so how we create momentum is by your vision, by faith in that, by your faith, and that you can do it, that you believe in the product, the company, and you believe that you can do what that vision is that you're calling for, and by your systems or habits. And also within systems or habits, whenever you're looking at what you're doing to create this company, I always tell people this: build your systems now, what you feel like your business is going to look like in 5 years. Yep. So if your goal in 5 years, your 5-year plan is you want to have 20 frontline, all these leaders, whatever that goal is, start working.
What about sales? How much in sales do they want to have?
Like you have that business in 5 years. Have your short-term goals, where your business is at, being real with yourself, but always look to the future and what you want that to be. So whenever you do get there, it's not overwhelming and you're not creating.
Well, and again, this is the problem, because people are like, I don't know how to lead, yet you're setting note. Like for me, every week, I also have leadership tasks I do every week. So we're doing a lot of like, let me party, let me have conversations. We're really good at setting those goals. But what we're going to challenge you guys to this semester is, what do your leadership goals look like? How many people are you working with, AKA coaching calls this week? How are you connecting with your team for them to get bought in and trust you and want to listen to you and want to be led by you?
And I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah, we did the training in Salt Lake City. We did a leadership training on one of the most difficult thing to measure is the results of you being a leader when it comes to direct sales.
But
my best definition, and I shared it in that training, is frontline promotions.
And active frontline and
active frontline and frontline promotion is a direct.
Let him fucking finish the sentence. He was literally going to say that. Good God.
Reflection of your leadership in regards to sense.
If you're not.
Oh, excuse me. I'm just going to cut you off right there. Blah, 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 blah. He's unbearable.
Growing your active frontline. I don't care how many frontline you have. If you're not growing active frontline every month and leaders, there's a disconnect. Mm-hmm. If you only have high active frontline, but you're not growing leaders, there's an even bigger disconnect.
Yeah. What if you have active frontline and no sales? What about that? Let's address that if you want to be considered not a pyramid scheme. Just saying. Hi, if you're watching. I hear some directors watch my videos, so hello. Loved you. Thanks for the view.
But you cannot grow leaders until you start growing that active frontline, because when you grow that active frontline, that shows one of two things. Number one, you're sponsoring and you're consistently sponsoring. And number two, you're training them and they're being led.
And so what I think it's important, like within this video, since we're talking about developing leadership habits, that's something that we'll plug in the notes from that training. I can go back and find it.
And we'll plug in these and we'll put them in the description on YouTube so y'all have them.
So and also one thing within systems or habits, you have to know when to change them.
Yes.
Because sometimes whenever you're with momentum, which is what we're getting to next, is how you lose them.
Yeah,
we're going to talk
speed
about
up, because I want to be
done soon. So how to create.
You heard her right.
Speed up, because I want to be done soon.
It has only been 17 minutes of this call with her team, and she is showing them so much respect. Like, do you think they want to be there listening to you cut off your husband every 2 seconds? I'm sure they don't.
Momentum, your vision, your faith, the systems are your habits. Now, more importantly, how you lose momentum. And this is the 5 ways you can lose momentum. By doing what's known, by doing what's safe, by doing what's easy, what's comfortable, or doing nothing. So I think that is important, because basically you can tell yourself a lot that sometimes the mind will play tricks on your work. And I used to say this to a lot of people. In your mind, you're telling yourself you're doing these things, but in reality, you're not. And the numbers are not lying. So that's one huge way to kill momentum. there's always that time when you're sitting there and you're just killing it. You know, everything's working right. Everybody you're talking to, they want to do a party, you're selling everything. People are interested in joining. You're going. And then you hear that one no.
Or you just get really comfortable. That's
And you hear that one no, or you get comfortable.
I think it's hearing the no, because when people
Well,
spurts of doing well, you think like
It sounded like he said, well, we're going to talk about that in a second. But she just won't fucking let up and just let him say what he prepared. It's just like, why didn't you just do this training on your own if this is what it was going to be like? If you have so much to say about this topic, why have your husband prepare this whole thing so that you can sit there and disagree with him and cut him off the entire fucking time?
I'm good. And you never, that's the biggest lie you can tell yourself.
You have the momentum, keep building it. That's what that means.
Yeah.
And so that's how you lose momentum, is what's known, what's safe, what's easy, what's comfortable, what's doing nothing. Okay.
I typed it. We're good.
Now, the most important thing, how you sustain it. So we've talked about how you create it, and then now we're talking about how you sustain it. The best way to sustain momentum is something called resilience. And we came up with a little acronym for it. I have this one acronym where it was the A times E equals R. It's like activity times effectiveness equals results. This is our momentum acronym or formula. It's action plus resilience equals sustained momentum.
So action
It's a formula, not an acronym.
plus resilience is sustained momentum. So if you want to be a good leader and you're on this call, but you're not doing coaching calls and you don't want to work with your team and you don't want to be coached, what are you doing?
So
that's one example of you're not doing the action. So even if you have resilience and you're so resilient, nobody can kick you down, like all the things. But if you're not doing the actions of being teachable, being coached, working with your team, sucking till you're good at it.
I'm a child, and when I hear her say that, I think of other things. Sucking till you're good at it. I'm like a prepubescent boy. It's so bad.
Not showing up for your team. You're never going to have sustained momentum. Guess, you know what you're going to be? A floppy leader. You're going to be like this. You're not going to be consistent in your leadership because you're not doing the right actions as a leader. So the resilience doesn't matter because you have to have both.
And so basically the definition of resilience, or the best way to describe resilience, it's not your knowledge, and it's not your skill, and it's not your desire, but how do you bounce back and thrive in the face of adversity? That's what resilience is. So leadership is difficult. I will say that. And I found this quote, and it's one of my most favorite quotes in regards to leadership. And it says, if leading people isn't simultaneously your greatest gift and your greatest burden, you're probably doing it wrong.
So true.
I heard that and it blew my mind, because I think as leaders, sometimes we feel like it's going very well, but then we also feel guilty when it's not going well. And so if leading people isn't simultaneously your greatest gift and your greatest burden, you're probably doing it wrong. So sustain momentum by always showing back up, do the calls, get the no's, and keep going. Don't stop. And I think that's important as a leader.
Is that all of them? Yeah.
That's all of it.
Yeah.
And you added some stuff too.
I know. I just made mine bigger. So,
You added.
yeah. So I was actually on the plane yesterday, and I think it's really important that we are constantly learning. So I found this really cool podcast I'm going to start listening to called the Negotiation Society podcast. And it's all of these like CEOs and COOs and culture developers of like, Nike and Pepsi and Gap and all this stuff. And they share how they lead their teams. And I was like, this is so cool. I've never seen a podcast like that before. So I was reading a magazine about it, and I got some tips I want to share. So the acronym, you guys, I'll share it one more time, is action plus resilience equals sustained momentum. And
Again, not an acronym, a formula.
sustained momentum is how leaders really thrive, and how leaders are able to come and be consistent and do meetings and do coaching calls and build and recruit and sell and lead and stay in their lane. So here's some traits I want to share with you guys really quick on that I got from listening, or not listening. I was reading. Like
listening is worse than reading.
From reading yesterday on the plane, some traits in every great leader. So these are all kinds of things from different like CEOs, culture chief officers, product developers, etc. So the first one was focus. A lot of you guys are not focused. Y'all have been taught that you should be coaching. Y'all have been shown that you should be coaching your team. Coaching is working. You're working with your team, leading your team, recognizing them, sending out emails, all like helping them get to the next level. You're not focused.
Well, let's just pretend like they're maybe focused on something else, like sales. Like they were told it is what they have to do to join Scentsy. Maybe they're focused on that. Also, how do you know what they're focused on? Are you in their house every day? Just wondering.
And you're probably also not focused in your personal business either. So start there and start there because you got to start somewhere, but start focusing.
Stop lying to these people. It's not their business.
With your team. Another one is a keen work ethic. They said that, you know, great leaders, they know exactly what they're doing. Their business is telling them what to do. So time blocking is something y'all are going to hear from me a lot. And we talked about it on our work and Zoom the other week because my stepmom started it. Like you really need to have your business tell you what to do or you'll get overwhelmed. A willingness to try, but also fail. You have to know you're going to fail and you have to let it kick you in the butt. You have to know that we are all failing every day. We're failing with our words. We're failing with the way we're coaching. We're failing with how we...
That's reassuring coming from somebody who's supposed to be leading their team of people who think they own their own business.
Recruited that person and how we launched their business because we just didn't want to do a home party for them and we should have. We're all going through that. They're only as good as the teams around them. Anchored Scents would not be Anchored Scents without y'all. Period. Like at SFR, at these events that we do, I'm going to be doing like field trips this semester with you guys and like sample nights.
This is not fucking school. It's not a semester. You're not going on field trips. They're playing pretend. It's awful.
Anchored Scents wouldn't be Anchored Scents without y'all, and your teams wouldn't be your teams without you. We roll up our sleeves and lead by example. So we roll up our sleeves like we're the ones, like I will take a kick to the face by every freaking person in Scentsy just to be able to lead y'all better. Literally, I don't care. Like, I don't care what it takes for me to help you guys do it better and the best. I will be the one that takes the hit. And Justin knows that. Like,
something tells me that's false, but that's just allegedly and in my opinion only.
I literally do not care. Like, and that's how you have to start getting with your teams. Like, I'm going to be the fearless one. I'm going to quit my job first, right? I'm going to be the one to dive in and do a ton of home parties again because we need it. I'm going to be the one to do a last chance first glance. I'm going to be the one to do field trips and to do all these scary things. Another one is they enjoy inventing. They enjoy inventing new and impactful ways to accomplish tasks.
Habits.
That's a big one. So great leaders are constantly not reinventing the wheel, but looking at our own wheel. And if that wheel is not moving, we're finding new ways that's going to push our momentum to get there.
Or stealing away and making it better.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
She's not.
And I think a lot of great
artists steal.
I think they do, but I feel like
great artists steal. And then immediately once they're found out, everything is depreciated. Their art is worth nothing anymore because it's stolen. So the original artist gets the credit. So encouraging that, I know it's like not a literal like steal art, but like if you're stealing somebody else's whatever it is and taking credit for it to be your own and then laughing about it, that says a lot about you.
Being original and authentic in Scentsy, you can get there with all the tools you have from Scentsy and make it your own. And I do think that's important. They encourage debate and view disagreement as healthy. Okay? Disagreement is healthy. Going through difficult leaders, going through difficult team members, it is healthy and it leads to the best solutions. And we went through that at our leadership retreat firsthand in front of a whole group of people. And it ended up being great by the end of the week. They listen and absorb information before forming perspective. So they're absorbing the feedback on things like this call that you know you need to change, that you know you need to start, and that you know you need to do. And great leaders take it before thinking of a perspective of like, I could never do this. They take those tools and they're like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try that for 90 days. They proactively seek feedback on themselves, their team, and their organization. That's important. They trust. Trust is about authenticity and honesty. If they don't trust you, they're not going to want to be coached by you. If you're not showing up and you're not doing monthly team meetings, hangouts, connection points. You're not reaching out to them consistently so they can see you're pulling reports and you know what their sales are, and you're not sending emails. All these things vary.
And you're not telling them this is their own business while simultaneously doing those things.
Off your team size, they're going to change as you grow. But if they don't see that you're constantly doing meetings, that you're showing up, that you're here to work with them, they're not going to care to listen, to tell you what their goals are or how or what they want to accomplish. Great leaders nurture and support others in pursuit of one common goal. The common goal of these leadership calls is to help you guys be great leaders. The common goal of you doing coaching calls with your team is to help them get where they want to go. And last but not least, they serve to lead and they have clarity on a mission. Clarity goes hand in hand with focus. If you don't have clarity, if you're not focused, you need to get there. You need to time block. You need to let your business tell you.
Let me touch on time blocking for a second. I am neurodivergent and I tried time blocking. So I had a business mentor. I still have a business mentor in my life because I run a legitimate business, and there are also legitimate business mentors out there. So my business mentor, she swears by time blocking and she teaches time blocking, but she also says sometimes this is not the best method for everybody. And I am one of those cases. I tried to force time blocking for almost a year and a half until I finally realized it doesn't work for me. I don't get shit done when I do time blocking. It's overwhelming. I can't handle it. So for her to say to her entire team, her team as a unit, saying you should be time blocking and making them feel guilty if they don't, and them not having any other option to kind of organize their business, their business or their tasks that they have to get done, they're going to be overwhelmed. You're basically setting them up for failure. I'm not against recommending time blocking because it does work for a lot of people. But when you're running an MLM and speaking to your team under an umbrella and telling them they have to be time blocking, it's not going to work in your favor.
What to do. You need to sponsor. You need to lead well.
Why do you need to sponsor and lead? I thought this wasn't a pyramid scheme.
You need to know how you're leading and how you're launching the people you're sponsoring. So that is all that me and Justin have tonight. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to stop the recording.
And she did. That was just as rough the second time as it was the first time. And yes, I did notice a lot more things than I noticed the first time around. So I'm kind of happy my first recording got deleted. This turned out better. But anyway, thanks for hanging out with me while I talk a bunch of shit, and I will see you in the next one.